Welcome in, guys, and thank you for joining us. Another edition of Right on Rangers Live coming to you post game after a 7-0 Rangers loss to the first place Cleveland Guardians. At this point, it sucks to feel this way, but this result is starting to feel a little bit inevitable for the Rangers at this point. Zeros across the board, a potential threat here and there throughout the game. But I'll tell you what, I can't say I'm at all surprised or shocked by the result that the Rangers turned in today against Cleveland. And this was actually a really, really good game, a pitcher's duel for the first 7 innings, a super, super tight affair. You really, really felt like the Rangers had a couple of big opportunities, a couple of really big moments in the game and squandered them. And then inevitably, baseball gods, it's just the way it goes. You blow your opportunities, and the other team always seems to find a way to get the job done instead. And that's the way that it's gone multiple times for the Rangers this season in a variety of games. And we're going to get to everything here in just a second, all the key moments, the scoring, right? All the controversial decisions. Although this game was pretty straightforward, bats were just not there once again. And I know that's oversimplifying it, but we'll get into all that in just a sec. First, I know a lot of y'all have been listening for a while now, but for those of y'all that are new, at Right On Rangers, we cover pretty much everything sports, but we put a little bit of an extra emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers. And we are going to talk all things Rangers baseball today after a tough loss, a 7-0 loss to the Cleveland Guardians. We've got the Mavs game going on in the background right now. So we'll keep our eye on that. 73-70, Mavs in the lead right now. So we'll occasionally peek in on that game as we are going through this Rangers game with you guys. I think for me, just to get started, let's begin with the positive. Always good to begin with the positive. We will talk about some of the negatives in between, and we'll try and end with the positive as we look forward to tomorrow. Let's talk Mike Lorenzen. Mike Lorenzen took this game into the 6th inning with a no-hitter. Mike Lorenzen was absolutely outstanding today. And I feel like you can say this about so many different Rangers pitchers at this point. I feel like yesterday you could say Andrew Heaney was outstanding, right? And the day before, Jose Urena was outstanding. Like, you're getting so many great pitching performances. They're really getting lost within the offense and the mire that the Rangers are in right now up at the plate. The pitching for the Rangers, the starting pitching, let's clarify, the starting pitching for the Rangers has been top class, elite. I would love to see the Rangers starting rotation, ERA, and all of their stats against everybody else in the big leagues. I would imagine that we are up in the top 10 for sure, possibly top 5, or at least on the outskirts of the top 5. Again, I would love to look up those stats. I'll try and look it up as we are talking about it here. But what can you say about the Rangers starting pitchers? I mean, it's incredible. I never expected that we would get this many quality performances from guys like Andrew Heaney, a guy that I think a lot of people at the beginning of the year when he was struggling a little bit, a lot of people were very down on Heaney. Myself, I know I said he's probably a guy that belongs in the bullpen. And then you look at Mike Lorenzen, a guy who we signed at the end of spring training, coming in and giving us the performances that he has. I mean, I know he got roughed up a little bit against the A's, but against Kansas City, I think he threw 6 innings of shutout baseball. Tonight, he goes 7 innings of shutout baseball, gives up 1 hit. I know the strikeout numbers weren't there for Lorenzen tonight, but Mike Lorenzen was probably, look, I don't want to be over dramatic, but just like the sleeper steal of free agency at this point. I think what you're getting out of him for what was expected is just off the charts. So we got to give Mike Lorenzen some love, give him his flowers tonight. He deserved better. And you can really use that expression after almost every single Rangers starting pitcher at this point. They deserved better. But The offense just can not get it going. And I don't know if there is a great fix. We've talked about this, and I don't feel like we can keep beating a dead horse. I don't know if there's a great fix right now for this offense. I really don't know if I would change a whole lot. There's not a lot of guys you can bring in off the bench. Of course, you're going to get Wyatt Langford back here in a couple of weeks, but even Wyatt Langford wasn't going that well. So, as you complain, and as I complain about the offense's struggles, I'm trying to rack my brain for what needs to be done, if anything, to fix it beyond guys just starting to hit the ball well. And look, there were some loud outs tonight. Let's be clear. There were some loud outs tonight. I felt like multiple guys, Seager, like twice, I feel like he missed a home run, two different at bats. Sent the ball out to probably about the base of the track or right before the track. I feel like Siegs just missed a couple of home runs tonight. And I feel like there were a couple of other Rangers that you could say that for too. You go to that bases loaded moment, right? The Rangers, I believe in the middle innings, not going to get the exact inning off the top of my head, although I will try and look it up on the fly here. But Josh Smith and Doley both had opportunities with the bases loaded and did not come through. And Josh Smith missed a grand slam ever so slightly. I mean, he absolutely tattooed that baseball foul, hit a laser shot right down the right field line. Easily could have been a Josh Smith grand slam. We're talking about the bottom of the sixth inning when the Rangers loaded the bases. Leote leads off with a single. Simeon flies out. Siegs and Nate Lowe walk back to back. Doley, though, the strikeout with one out, and Doley had three strikeouts tonight. Doley is not in a good way right now. We've talked about it on the show for probably the past week, probably ailing, probably somewhat hurt, I would guess at this point. But Doley is just not himself at this moment. I think Doley, at minimum, when he's right, sack fly in a bases loaded one out situation. But for Doley to strike out in that moment is just such a killer. Josh Smith misses a grand slam just by a little bit, just hooks, just hooks it foul. I would love to see, and I'm going to try and look up the exit velocity if I can on that foul ball yet. It's not going to tell me. I'd have to go to Baseball Savant, and I'm not going to go through that because it's a little bit hard to pull up all these specific pitches and hits. I'll have to look it up after the game just for fun. But it was a laser, and Josh Smith just misses that grand slam. It's a shame. He grounds out, breaks his bat. I think the very next pitch, or one of the very next pitches, and that's how the Rangers miss out on a pretty big opportunity. And then, of course, from there, in the top of the eighth inning, the Guardians tack on 4 runs. Leclerc comes in and wasn't sharp. Leclerc did not have his A stuff today. As you look at his box score, 2 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk. So he got 1 out. So you're giving up 3 different base runners and only getting 1 out. Leclerc did not have his A game today. And it's so frustrating because you just so badly need Jose Leclerc to be right. You're not going to get through this season with Robertson and Yates. They can't pitch every single inning in high leverage situation. If you use Robertson in the 8th inning right there, you could then got to go to Yates, and then you've got what for the rest of the series. You're not going to be able to throw Yates and Robertson every single game against the Guardians. Yes, we do have an off day coming up on Thursday, but Bochy and Maddox are in a tough spot. You're probably going to have a lot of close games with the Guardians. I know that tonight the box score doesn't look close, but it was a 0-0 game through 7 innings. 0-0 game through 7, extremely tight game. And I think these two teams actually do stack up quite well. Now, the Rangers are clearly in a funk, in a slump, whatever you want to call it. So they are not at what I would call 100% at this moment. But I think just on paper, without knowing the details of how much the Rangers have struggled of late, you would say the Guardians and the Rangers probably pretty even. Maybe you give a slight edge to the Rangers, but the Guardians are playing great baseball right now. I would expect most of these games with the Guardians to be tight. So, do you want to burn Robertson and Yates in game 1 with the score tied? I think that's a really tough call. I do think I would have done the same thing. I would have gone to Leclerc. I think they were probably hopeful they could get maybe 2 innings out of Leclerc today, maybe at least one. And possibly you bring in Yates after you take the lead in the bottom of the 8th inning. But it was not meant to be. Leclerc did not have his A stuff today. And Leclerc notoriously loves to give up base runners in his outings. I just don't see Leclerc as a 1, 2, 3 guy. I think the stats would back that up. And giving up 3 different base runners, one on a walk, and then 2 base hits. There were a couple of cheap shots. And what I mean by that is, one of the hits that they got, Leclerc actually threw a great slider, jammed the hitter, and you know what? Just a little Texas leaguer that drops in front of Leote in center field. Those are tough. Those are tough, but nevertheless, in the box score, it is what it is. I don't think you can totally negate the fact that it is a hit given up, but I do think you have to put in perspective one of the hits for sure that Leclerc gave up. He won that battle. He jammed the hitter, and the guy muscles it out to center field, a little Texas League blooper. Latz comes in and gives up 2 hits, both on the ground ball. I was commenting to some of my buddies. The ground balls were pretty well squared up, if we're being real. Don't know what the exit velocities were on them, but it's not like it was weak contact and the Rangers had some kind of weird shift on and it just happened to get past one of the infielders. Both the baseballs that were hit off of Lats that got through via the ground ball were pretty well squared up, in my opinion. They were hard hit baseballs. It's not like Lats was totally winning those battles, although, of course, you love a ground ball and you hope it's right at somebody in a moment like that where there's runners on base. But the 2 walks is what stand out to me when it comes to Latz and his performance. So you got 3 walks combined between Leclerc and Latz tonight. That is going to be a recipe for disaster against a great team like the Guardians. And look, for how much we praised Lorenzen, Lorenzen had 4 walks tonight, 4 strikeouts as well. But the Rangers had a total of 8 walks in this game. Against a good team like the Guardians, you can't give away 8 free bases. It just is not going to work out well against the first place team. You have got to be so lucky to win a ball game when you're walking close to 10 different guys. So lucky. So I think that in general, the Rangers were in a tough spot today. Yes, it would have been great to go to Robertson and then Yates, but in a tie game against a first place opponent where you know that a lot of these games are probably actually going to be pretty close. I mean, you never know with baseball, right? But I think one can assume both of these teams on paper pretty well evenly matched. I would guess that if we were looking at the odds, it's probably going to be pretty tight, nothing too one sided either way as far as the odds, the betting odds are concerned. So I really feel like the Rangers didn't want to burn their 2 best guys night one with the game tied. There wasn't even a lead, right? Robertson and Yates, ideally, you want those guys coming in with a 1, 2, 3 run lead, if at all possible, instead of a tie game. And that's going to be the problem for the Rangers. That's going to be the big problem for them. And it is the problem with the bullpen right now is when the Rangers don't have a 1, 2, 3 run lead, they just don't have a lot of guys that can come in when the Rangers are losing by 1, losing by 2, up by, maybe up by 5, up by 6 that you really trust. I mean, they've got guys that they can throw in those moments, but look, there are some guys I don't even want coming in with a 4 or a 5 run lead in this Rangers bullpen. I'm just going to be honest. There are some guys I need it to be a 7, 8 run lead before I feel totally comfortable that the game is going to go well. So that's the trouble with the Rangers right now is you need innings eaters that are reliable that you know aren't going to blow a game when you put them in. You also need to have guys that you can put in and feel comfortable with and trust when the game is tied or when the Rangers are down 1 or 2 and you need to keep the game close. The Rangers are lacking that depth, and I do think it's going to be a reason why the Rangers are going to need to pursue some bullpen help at the deadline or beforehand. Of course, last year, the Rangers make a trade for Aroldis Chapman. weeks before the deadline. That ended up being a great move that did give the Rangers some solid depth on the back end of the bullpen. I think that the Rangers need to make a similar move and get one, maybe even two guys. I would prefer two that are going to be able to be reliable and be used in high leverage spots, but also in the moments that I just talked about. When the Rangers are down one, when they're down two, and you can't burn Robertson and Yates, but you need a guy that can give the offense a chance to come back and to keep things close. So that's the story of the game. Lorenzen puts in a great performance. Again, 5 no-hit innings from him. Incredible night from Mike Lorenzen. Didn't get the loss. That goes to Jose Leclerc, but he surely deserved a win. So we can say that about a number of different Rangers starters. Andrew Heaney is still winless. I find that to be absolutely crazy with how well he's pitched. Mike Lorenzen, I think, has 1 or 2 wins under his belt, if I'm not mistaken. Looks like on the season, Mike Lorenzen is 2-2. So Mike's got a couple wins. Andrew Heaney, we got to get that dude a win with how well he is pitching at this point. And then Owen White, talking about the bullpen here. Owen White comes in, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, a walk. I really feel like Owen White is probably going to be the first guy out, the first guy down in terms of pitchers. And that is kind of wild to say, considering the Rangers have Jonathan Hernandez and Yeri Rodriguez. I mean, both of those guys obviously totally soiled the bed against the Rockies when they got their chances. But Owen White just has not looked good at all. And I really feel like he's probably going to be the first guy down. Hernandez is such a tough call because Jonathan Hernandez does have filthy stuff. He just can't control it. He has great stuff that can strike out big league hitters, but the guy just does not have enough control over his pitches. So that's the tough part with Hernandez. When he's on, he looks like he could be a closer. When Jonathan Hernandez is pitching well and has his ace stuff, he looks like a closer. But of late, 8 walks in his 2 last appearances. I do think he's probably going to be hanging around. I doubt he's going to be one of the guys that gets sent down to AAA over a guy like Owen White. I don't know about Yeri Rodriguez. I can't imagine that he has a ton of time left, especially as pitchers come back healthy, which we hope is sooner rather than later. But you never know with these pitching injuries. You can get a timetable, but as we've seen with Scherzer, you just never know how long it's actually going to be. We thought Scherzer was going to be back in mid-May, early May. That's going to come and go. He's not going to be back probably till June, if I had to guess. I can't imagine that Scherzer is going to be back before then. Would love to be wrong, but can't imagine it. So we'll see what the Rangers do. I'm a little bit curious. I would think that they would probably be starting to make some moves here. But I know Leiter is getting the start tomorrow, and we'll preview that matchup in a little bit. Jack Leiter's first home game. That'll be fun for the fans. Jack Leiter has not looked good in his major league performances thus far. We're not getting on him too much. He's a rookie. He's still figuring it out. Not expecting Jack Leiter to be an ace in his 3rd appearance with the club and his 3rd start, but just being real. He hasn't looked great, putting way too many guys on base via the hit and the walk. I think the walks were a little down in his last performance, but hopefully we can get a very solid start from Jack Leiter tomorrow, and that'll be a nice treat for the home fans. Hopefully there's a nice crowd on hand. I know if I was living in Arlington, living in the DFW area, I would love to go and watch that dude's first home game if I possibly could. All right, Jack Leiter, I think, is going to be a really good pitcher in this league for a long time, but right now he's figuring it out and doesn't quite have it all together yet. To be expected from rookie pitchers, it's very rare that a rookie pitcher comes in and just lights it up nonstop for his first 10 starts. There's generally always some ups and downs. Hopefully, Leiter is past some of the downs and he is coming in to some of those peaks, and we're going to see him put together some good quality starts. That's the plan. Let me go to the comments here. So, by the way, Natalie, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the comment again. Langford is eligible to come off the injured list in a couple of days. I feel like he is probably going to go to AAA. and probably he's going to maybe be there for, I don't want to say an extended period of time, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I think the Rangers are going to milk that rehab start for all it's worth. I just don't know why you would be rushing Langford back. He wasn't hitting that great before he injured the hamstring. You might as well let him stay down there, play a series, maybe play 4 or 5 games. I think that would be really ideal for a guy like him at this point. I do think that having his presence in the lineup is something. Like, even though he's not hitting that great, hitting 230, only has the one inside the park home run, I do think other teams are aware of the hype around him. They're aware of the ability, and I do think he is a presence in the lineup. When he comes up, I don't think anybody is taking him for granted. I think that's the best way to put it. So having him back, I do think is going to be helpful, even if he's not hitting 300 and driving the ball out of the ballpark. I think just his presence is going to be great for the Rangers coming back. So hopefully we'll get some positive news on Wyatt and the injury to the hamstring at some point in the near future. Obviously, getting the starters back is going to make a big difference with this ball club. Josh Young is still a ways away, but getting Langford back, I think, will be helpful just for his presence alone in the lineup. Beyond what we talked about already with the box score, really not a lot to comment on. Leote gets on base again. He is, I think, up in the teens with straight games getting on base. So, look, Leote has been very, very playable at the plate. Yes, he's had some defensive gaffes out in center field that did cost the Rangers, I think, a game in Colorado. But he has been hitting well and putting together some good performances at the plate. Can't deny that. Up to 259 average on the year. He's raised that average up from the 220s over the past week or so. 1 for 3 tonight. So Leote has been playing well up at the plate. I think the defense does leave something to be desired, no doubt. But you can't complain too much about what you're getting from Leote in the bat. If you can get 1 for 3 from him on most nights, you will 100% take that, because that means that we're turning over the lineup to Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, and that is what you want from a number 9 hitter. And Leote, I think he has got to be up there. I know that I think the Cleveland Guardians 9 hitter had more hits than him, but they popped up a stat probably about 5 days ago. Most hits among 9-hole hitters in the major leagues. Leote was second about a week ago. He's got to be pushing for first place. Hits coming from the 9 spot in the order. So Leote has done well. Marcus Semien goes 1 for 4 with a double. Siegs 0 Nate Lowe 1 for 3 with a walk. Good to see Nate Lowe getting on base a couple of times. He remains a steady presence in the lineup in that 3 spot. It is noteworthy. Siegs was on base. I think he extended an on base streak he has going that is about the same length as Leote's or close to. We talked about Dolly 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. That guy really, really needs to, I don't know. I don't want to say bench him, give him a mental day, but you feel like he almost needs one. He is just having a tough time at this point, and I really, really hope that Leote can turn it around. I really hope Dolly can turn it around and get back onto a good track. Going 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, including a strikeout with the bases loaded. Really, really tough. Jonah Heim goes 0 for. Jankowski was 1 for 3. Duran 0 for as well. So his hot streak kind of comes to a little bit of an end. And then we talked about Leote too. So that's box score review. Here we go. We're kind of going to start going into the game for tomorrow at this point. So we have Jack Leiter on the mound. Talked about that. And hopefully Leiter, after 2 rough starts to begin his major league career, will have his A stuff, as we've been saying all night long with some of our pitchers tonight. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of the career numbers for Lively. It actually looks like only Semien has hit off of the Indian starter Lively. Lively's sporting a 2.63 ERA. So I'll tell you what, this could be one of those 50-50 games where you really just don't know what you're going to get. You could get the Rangers totally coming out of their shells against a guy that they haven't seen before. And you could very well see more continued slumping as an unfamiliar arm kind of breeds more mired down offense. And I really, really don't know completely what to expect. So for a prediction on this game, I'm going to have to think for a little while. This one's going to be a tough one. And like I said, Lively has been pitching very, very well of late. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Yeah, I think talking about Dolly, I'm assuming here, I have to think that maybe that is playing into it a little bit. Although with some of the different things that we've discussed, just the loafing, right, not running full speed, you wonder if it's more than just the hand, but that very well could be it. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of the things going on around the AL West at this point. So, AL West tonight, we had pretty much everybody in action. So, at this point, we'll try and go through the games that have finished and tell you about the games that are still going on. So, right now, the Mariners are winning 4-2 over the Royals at this point. That game's in the bottom of the eighth in Seattle. We've got the Angels losing to the Cardinals 8-4 currently. I know the Angels, especially with losing Mike Trout, aren't too much of a worry at this point, but they're closer in the division than you think, thanks to the Rangers dropping 4 straight games. Hard to believe we're on a 4-game losing streak right now after playing the Rockies, but it is what it is, y'all. And then as we move on to the rest of the teams, the Astros beat the A's tonight. They improved to 16-25 on the season. A's dropped to 19-24. So that is our AL West roundup. And I really think that if I had to guess, okay, yep, just got the update. One game back, yep, of Seattle. 4 games back is what Oakland is. Houston moves up to 6 games back, 5 behind the Rangers, and the Angels are 7 games back, 6 behind the Rangers. So that is the AL West, one of, if not the worst division in baseball right now, y'all. As I look around the rest of the league, every division looks pretty good. And I mean, maybe San Diego, LA has the weakest 1-2. LA, of course, is 27-15. The Padres are 22-21. Everybody else has like a 24-25 game winner. And then there's the AL West. So, whew, I'll tell you what, this is definitely nice for the Rangers in that they're not fully healthy and they're playing in a division that is a little bit weak, but at the same time, kind of sucks because they could really be taking advantage of a weak division. It doesn't need to be this close right now. It really doesn't. Last thing here, our system is having a tough time right now with this 4-game losing streak. I believe we dropped down to about $70 down in our challenge, betting 1 cent for every follower that we have on Facebook, on TikTok, on Texas Rangers money line, basically Texas to win. Man, we were riding high. We were up triple digits at one point moving into that A series, but Colorado, Denver, haunting place, man, that just took us straight down. So I am so hopeful that the Rangers can get out of this funk and that it can start tomorrow with Jack Leiter's start. Man, that would be great. Not sure if there's a lot of tweaking to be done with lineups, with bullpens, with call ups. I think right now the players on the team just need to play better. And that is such an oversimplification. But I think that's really all you can chalk it up to at this point. We just need better from the offense, especially, and from some of our bullpen guys as well. Tomorrow, by the way, as we take a look at the game time and the starts and all that. So tomorrow is once again a 7:05 Texas start. So we'll be coming at you around the same time tomorrow. Wednesday is also a night game. So no day games. Thursday, we have the day off. So a couple of night games coming up, a day off Thursday. Sure would be nice to get a couple wins to round out this series against the Guardians. Tomorrow, we will have a video out to y'all, our reel, kind of giving you an update on the system that we just referenced, betting 1 cent on Rangers money line for every follower. So we'll also preview the pitching matchup. We'll go over the highlights or lowlights of the game tonight. And we'll also make some score predictions and make some predictions of who we think is going to have a big game tomorrow. Hopefully, it's somebody in the offense. Hopefully. And last thing before we take off, if you would be so kind, share this with another Rangers fan. You know somebody that loves the Rangers. I would love if you would share this with them. Let's build the little community we got going here. It's great to be talking sports with y'all, especially Texas Rangers baseball. So I thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, all the likes, shares, follows, all that good stuff. It does not go unnoticed. I don't take it for granted. Thank you so much. And as we always say here at Right On Rangers, God bless. Go Rangers. Hope y'all have a great rest of your Monday night and a great week ahead.